You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Here's the deal. Filmmakers of these various ads say that they're being throttled on platforms like Twitter. So here's what Republicans do. Well, so you have these army of Trump supporters. So what they do is when one of those videos runs, it typically gets about 5 million views on Twitter. They then file a claim against the video, and then what Twitter does is they simply, essentially block the video. And so what they noticed was, folks like 11 Films and others, they noticed that all of a sudden, their videos that should have been getting more than 5 million views, all of a sudden were getting 750,000 and topping out at 1 million. Is this digital suppression? Shireen Mitchell, she tracks these things. She joins us right now. Shireen, this is something that, again, average person's like, I don't see what the big deal is, but what we experienced this last week, and was it, I can't remember, was it after the debate, Shireen, where we begin to post different things, and on Instagram, you would get this notice by saying, this looks like a material that's been blocked by others. Do you sure you want to post it? So what they're doing is they are attacking posts, and if they attack enough, it then triggers the algorithms to then block similar stuff, correct?
Correct. And just be clear that this is a tactic that was done because what they used to do was that if they saw content or saw people who they didn't agree with, they would just basically have a pylon, basically having all the fake accounts and troll accounts come after that person and their account and try to either shut them down from the attacks, i.e. because they were overwhelmed, or try to dilute, whatever the content was and make it look like that they were the major voice that's being heard over the real content that was present. So because that tactic is no longer working, why? Because now you can see the attacks, and those attacks are now being documented, and so their accounts are being shut down. So instead of dealing with it from that perspective, a good example is what we will talk about what happened in 2016. Some of these activities is because of exactly what Twitter did in 2016, where they basically waited to after the election to shut down certain accounts that were violating their terms of service. That includes the Milos of the world, right? It was after the election that they did this. While before that, other people were under attack and being targeted, and those people were being targeted without being protected. And some of them got their accounts shut down or banned because of those attacks, instead of the people like Milo. So they waited to after the election so they didn't look like they were being biased to shut those accounts down. Now, as a result, that angered certain groups, and this group that you're talking about that's doing this other model of it, where they're now coming back to those accounts. They're not attacking them outright. What they're doing is they're submitting them as if that they are harmful or violent content. And that is what's triggering these algorithms, when actually none of these are any of that in any form. But the other thing that they're trying to do, because there is a new trigger in both the platforms, Twitter and Facebook, that basically say if this is disinformation, you can actually, or this is something that is impacting the election, or this is about election integrity, they're triggering that part of, in my opinion, and what we're seeing right now, that part of the algorithm that is new, because they just put that particular aspect in place. And so people don't realize is that as they're trying to say that, for example, when Trump had his account taken down or his tweet taken down because he was lying about COVID after he, quote unquote, came out, i.e. immune, which was not true, that was finally taken down and not given a disclaimer. What everyone else was getting was disclaimers to say some of this content is not true, is possibly not true, which is what's happening to these groups, and that's slowing it down. What they weren't doing to Trump before was taking his content down. So now his content got removed because the COVID information was completely false. And now these groups are angry about that and trying to target Biden's teams, or those who are promoting Biden in any way, who are having any conversation about what they think should be said of trying to get out the vote. and targeting them as if this is an equal debate, and it's not.
And I'll give you just again, so people have to understand how the algorithms are really controlling everything these days. Shireen is a perfect example. We have been battling Facebook for quite some time because we noticed that we were not able, for some reason, to monetize our show on Facebook. Go to my iPad. So here's one of the things that we got from them. Not eligible to monetize, but then when we began to check it out, so check this out. This is what they hit us with. Limited originality of content. Roland Martin shared content that was unoriginal or repurposed content from other sources with limited added value. Now, what's interesting is that this whole show is original. Now, we do share clips and things along those lines, like every other news show. And so we have been battling Facebook. And I mean, I literally sent an email that said last night, why the hell I said, if I can't make money off the platform, I don't need to be on it. But what's happening is, again, these algorithms are bouncing folks out. And what ends up happening is you're unable to have your video seen, to monetize these videos. So you're sort of like in this dark hole. And then, you have no idea what the hell caused it, what the hell triggered it. But what's happening here, these are specific attacks by conservatives targeting any anti-Trump people because they want to make sure the videos do not go viral.
Absolutely. And be clear. Remember, I'm on the Facebook oversight board. We're still working on issues that Facebook is not addressing properly. So we've gotten a couple of successes so far because we're basically saying, here are the things you haven't done right, and I guess you need public pressure to do it the right way. And so absolutely, not only is the content like yours is being shut down, but any content which I tell people all the time, those that are pushing out issues that are important to them, whether it's about immigration. Like if immigration is classified as a political ad, if you're talking about that saying, hey, we want to help this community, if it's a nonprofit, it's classified as a political ad instead of a nonprofit. While politicians get to share their ads with lies in them, targeting those same immigrants as if this is an equal playing field, and it's not. There's a power dynamic that's going on here, but the other part of this is the algorithms part that takes part in this. So unless the algorithm kicks it for a human to look at it, and again, Zuckerberg has basically blamed his content moderators for not moderating the content properly when that does happen, but that the algorithms themselves can be gamed in such a way that you can have certain content like yours to be removed. And so in this moment, the reason why this is so important was that in 2016, we know for a fact that the political ads, the ad system in Facebook as well as Twitter were gamed in 2016 with fake accounts, with false content. And so they think they're fixing this by coming up with these solutions that are, in my opinion, basically half-assed. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. But but they're trying to come up with a solution where they're not coming at the base problem. And part of their base problem is the algorithm. They've said before, they have the algorithm to take hate speech off and remove all hate speech, but they're not putting that algorithm in place. Why not? If there's hate speech on the platform, remove it. There should be no question about that. But what they've said is because it might be a politician spreading hate speech, that's the reason why they're not using the algorithm. And you're just going, so it's acceptable for hate speech under certain conditions, and i.e. if you happen to be a politician, right? But not me. I can't speak in any form of hate speech, but a politician can, and that's acceptable. And they can actually place the ad in that way, and you won't do anything about that. And that's why they need to be held accountable for not only their ads, but the decisions that they make in terms of their terms of service. We're just asking them to actually use their terms of service. They have created their own terms of service. Use them as they're supposed to be used so that we don't go through issues like this where someone feels like they're being disenfranchised when they were breaking the rules in the first place and should not have been able to do the things that they were doing. Instead of telling people who are not breaking the rules that somehow they're a part of the same process when they're not. Putting out these ads, as long as it doesn't violate, it doesn't have violence in it, it doesn't have disinformation in it, it doesn't have content that is, again, pornography or intimate images in it. These are not the types of things that should have disclaimers.
Again, this is the war that we're seeing being waged on the digital side. Shereen Mitchell, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me again.
This is the reality, Reese. I think people need to understand the battles that are being waged, and that is, in the piece that we read, Democrats are having to play catch up. They frankly were behind. Republicans, look. Republicans have always been excellent at voter suppression tactics. Now, in this case, they are really focusing on using these skills because they see what is happening on the digital side and how they stop things from going on. And Democrats are playing catch up in this digital war.
Absolutely. I mean, to some degree, the internet is a place of somewhat of an equalizer, but it's not the great equalizer that it once was because of the algorithms. I've been saying it. People probably thought I was just crazy or making excuses. But the bottom line is that these algorithms make all of the difference in terms of how our social medias are curated, how we are seeing which accounts, how often we're seeing them, and the content. And as you point out, you might not even know that your stuff is being filtered out or things of that nature. And absolutely, people are abusing these reporting systems, and it's having an impact. And this is why we see things like I made a video earlier about this sex trafficking QAnon conspiracy that seems to be permeating Black social media, in particular Facebook and Instagram, where people are starting to say outlandish things like if you're voting against Trump, you're voting for pedophilia and for sex traffickers. It's because all of the Republicans are winning. These crazies, these QAnon people are winning, aside from being banned on Facebook now all of a sudden, are winning the social media manipulation algorithm game. It's about bots, it's about programming, and we rely a lot on organic content, but it can only be so organic, it can only be so viral when you have these algorithms in place. So what people have to understand is, don't think that you're seeing everything out there. Don't think because you're not seeing something that means it doesn't exist. That just means that the way that you hit like and retweet and comment is further filtering down what you see. If you want to get information, you have to be more proactive about seeking that information out. When you are seeing things that you like, you have to interact with those things. That's one thing I encourage Kamala supporters is interact with tweets that are pro-Kamala, interact with things so that you see more of it, so that those things get higher visibility, so that they get treated higher in algorithms. So it's all a game that we haven't figured out yet on our side.
And Greg, when you start looking at on YouTube, when you look at on all of these different platforms, there are people who game the system. Facebook kicked off folks like Epoch Times and others because they realized what they were doing is they were actually filtering the same information to 10 and 20 different websites. That's how conservatives have been playing this game. And then what conservatives do, Greg, is they go, oh my God, they're targeting us. I mean, they're very excellent at whining. And then with the companies like, oh my goodness, we don't want to get criticized by the conservatives. Then talk radio and Fox News and Trump is going to tweet about us. So they bend over backwards to not offend them, and that's what you see happen, and that's what we continue to see happen. They want to win the digital war because it's easier to spread disinformation. It moves 6 times faster than truth, Greg.
Yeah, especially when you have the institutional capacity to do it, and the institutions are supporting you. What we just heard, what Reese just laid out as the strategy is really the only strategy we have at this point, because this is an emerging technology that we're trying to figure out how to work with. And Roland, the fact that you are conducting this behind the scenes warfare with these institutions just underscores the point that it's very difficult for individuals to beat institutions. I mean, alchemy is neutral. You can have good alchemy, you can have bad alchemy. Clearly they're involved in bad alchemy. They're conjuring, but they have the benefit of institutions that have never been in our favor. So of course they're not going to work. There's certain institutional inertia that works against us. So what we have to do is do some good conjuring, like what Reese is saying. Engage, move forward. The problem is, however, that is time consuming. So when you put that screen up and it said limited originality of content, that means that these white nationalists, in tandem with the white nationalists who are subsidizing them, the RNC rolling out this however many millions of dollars they're putting behind the digital get out the vote stuff. All this stuff is working against a one-man operation that can only continue to overwhelm that institutional capacity with the help of the rest of us. That's why we got to financially support Roland Martin Unfiltered, so that whatever Facebook is doing, until you can cave their chest in on this, is neutralized by the people who are putting $2 or $3, $4 on this thing every week, 10, 15, $50 a year. And then they look up and say, well, we can't stop that. Yeah, you don't have no alchemy for that, because we're going to use the good alchemy. We have to use all of our strategies in tandem.
Erica, go right ahead, and then I'm going to drop some breaking news in a second. Go ahead.
Okay, and great. And just to kind of add to what Reese and Greg have said, also, you just think about who are the architects of these algorithms. They're largely white men. When we look at the data that supports Silicon Valley and what that makeup looks like, and thinking about all of the women who have been working from home, where you see that workforce has been reduced because of responsibilities that they have assumed at home, now removed from that place, it is largely ran by white men. And we all know that Mark Zuckerberg is no stranger, not only to Donald Trump, but to the White House as well. So the onus is on us. We've never really had protections as Black people. It's always been for us as a collective to make sure that we move and fight. And this is just another battle war, unfortunately, that we have to fight as well, the digital war.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, the folks at Ceek.com, Black-owned company founded by Mary Spio. They, of course, a virtual reality company. You can check out their content at Ceek.com, Ceek.com. You can do so, of course, with these VR headsets. You can look at it, of course, on your regular device or your pad or your computer. But if you want to experience being in the room, you can use this headset right here. All you simply do is just pop in your cell phone in here, pop it on, and then put this headset on, and you can literally experience their content in virtual reality. And so allows for you to do a 360-degree view of the room. But also, folks, they have the 360-degree 4D headphones right here. These are Bluetooth headphones. They have complete surround sound in terms of as you hear the particular music. Gamers love them as well when they're playing their games. And so it's just phenomenal bass in these headphones as well. You can get one or both devices at Ceek.com using this promo code RMVIP 2020, RMVIP 2020. So we certainly thank the folks at Ceek.com for being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right.